Hello guys and welcome back to another episode. So today we're going to talk about Arms Warrior as a PvE guide for playing Arms Warrior. So if you want to try play Arms Warrior, or maybe you already play it but want to have some tips and tricks on how you actually play the spec, well, welcome to my guide. Let me learn you the basics of an Arms Warrior and how you deal damage and which talents you should choose and what stat you should choose. So first of all, let's go through the stats so you can have the stats correctly. Of course, when you're low eye level, it doesn't really matter, but when you begin to get high eye level and you begin to get more prestige items, you have to look on the stats to actually deal the most damage. So, first of all, of course, your main stat is Strange. So, Strength. I keep getting comments and I'm saying Strength wrong. I think I'm saying correct now, Strength. So the first thing you have to focus on is Strength. That means, now you probably say, why do you say that? I know that we have it on all our gear. Yeah, exactly. But if you get an item where you can actually put in a socket, or if you get a trinket where you can choose from Haste or Strength, then you actually want to choose Strength, because Strength is going to be your most primary spell, stat that is helping you most. So that's clear. Number one, Strength. Number two is Haste. Haste is helping you to, a lot of your spells is dealing more damage. Your dot you're dealing, your mastery one is dealing more ticks with Haste. You generate more haste, more rage with Haste. Your, let's say example, Skull Splitter and Mortal Strike gets lower cooldown when you have more haste. And also if you're running with Ancient Management, the more rage you use, the lower cooldown your big cooldowns have. So Haste is like your primary secondary stat. So Strength, Haste. Haste is so important for Arms Warrior. Also you get more auto attacks, again more rage, because Arms is a really rage based spec. So Strength, Haste. So after that it's actually Critical Strike. And now you probably say, why is it Critical Strike? Because you have this one here. Your auto attacks Critical Strike generate 30% more rage. That means more crit, of course more double damage, and more crit, also more rage. So this one here likes crit. So Strange, Haste, crit. So after Critical Strike it's Mastery, because we also like to have our damage over time to actually deal more damage. But again, it's only number 4 on the list. So it's only if you already have the other one and you can now just choose to have Mastery, well then take Mastery, because it's still a pretty good damn spell. I mean, it's damage over time, so if you have to run away from a boss, it's the damage you're dealing in that space, you could say. And the last one of course is Versatility. And Versatility is the less important for Arms Warrior, so that will only be if you really need it, because the item has Haste and Versatility. So that's the stats. Whoa! Then the talents, and the talents actually have some different kind of, you could say, structure. So the first row up here, War Machine is the best one if you know you're going to kill a lot of trash mobs, because the bonus you get, killing an enemy instantly generates 10 rage. And also your auto attack generates 10% more rage. So if you know that a lot of mobs is dying and dying and dying, it's really great because you get more rage. But if it's a single target fight on a boss, Skull Splitter is the best one. And Skull Splitter is kind of filling out your rotation, because the rotation without Skull Splitter can feel like you don't have anything to do, you don't have any rage to use, all your spells is on cooldown, what are you going to do now? But Skull Splitter is kind of filling out that empty gap, so you have that extra spell, so you don't feel like you have nothing to do. So Skull Splitter is the recommended one, I would say, no matter what. But War Machine can be really great on a lot of trash mobs. Sudden Death is not recommended. So go with Skull Splitter, I would say. The next one here is kind of up to you if you want to have Stun. I would not recommend to take a self heal, or you have to have additional charge. Remember, the more charge you have, the less cooldown you have on the charge, the more rage you can get, because you can kind of, charge your enemy, heroic leap away, charge your enemy, and now I have already 65 rage. I mean, that's a pretty cool start for that if you want to have a lot of rage. Just a little tip. So what else? If you want to have a stun for interrupting in Mythic dungeons, go with Stormbolt. So the next one down here is actually Massacre is the best one for single target damaging, because in your execute phase you're going to deal so much damage. So now you can actually use execute 10% before. That means your rotation, your execute phase is going to be that much stronger. Rend is not acceptable at all in PvE, forget it. But Favor of Battle is actually a quite okay one if you just want to have a smooth rotation, and it also is pretty great on trash mobs, because Whirlwind deals more damage, equal more damage on trash mobs, and you actually remove Slam for your rotation, because now every time you use Whirlwind, it's actually going to use Slam for you. It's not really recommended for single target because Massacre gives you a bigger burst window on single target, and also you can use Slam again, because Slam is still cheaper than Whirlwind. So for single target, go with Massacre. If you want to deal great damage on trash mobs, you could say, in a Mythic dungeon, go with Favor of Battle. The next one here down, I would actually recommend, well, it's probably defensive stance, because it's giving you on-demand damage reduction. So if you know, okay, I'm going to get a lot of damage now, I will help out my healer, then you can go into defensive stance. Just remember, you also deal reduce damage done by 10%. That means you will be dealing 20% less damage. So don't use that one if you actually want to focus on damaging, but use it if you're kind of dying. Second win is not really great in group content because, well, when you have not taken any damage for 5 seconds, you heal 6% of your health. If you're standing with a boss that deals small damage to everyone all the time, you will never really get use of it. So yeah, defensive stance is probably the one you want to use, but only when you actually take damage. Take it off. The next one here, god damn these warrior names. Collateral damage. When your abilities damage second target due to sweeping strikes, they refund 20% of the damage cost. So this one here is a really great one, and is actually the recommended one for smooth rotation in your gameplay. Because every time you use sweeping strike, so your damaging spells always hit additional 1. When you actually use a spell that costs rage, it will refund 20% of the rage. So in total, basic passive, it's a really great talent. But if you want to have a really great burst on trash mobs, just really big burst on trash mobs, then Warbreaker is an excellent choice, but it doesn't help you at all on single target, because everything it actually does is making Colossal Smash, dealing every damage. So on a boss, as a single target boss, it's not helping you. Collateral damage on a boss is not helping you too. Cleave is not helping you too. Cleave is really great if it's more than 3 targets, because it deals a bleeding to all the targets if it's hitting 3 or more targets. So Cleave is only good on on a really big group. Collateral damage is great on just 2 to 3 targets. And Warbreaker is if you really want to have a really cool, you can say, AoE burst. So if you want to pull this group and you really want to crash them, it's a really great spell. And if you combine Warbreaker with Avatar and use what is called Blade Storm, those 3 together give you the biggest burst I've ever seen in this game on trash mobs. It's so insane. But collateral damage will probably be the one that I will default go with as a smoother rotation, and you don't really have to think about you need to use Warbreaker before you deal more damage on trash mobs. But it's a great one still. But it's a cooldown. So the next one here, again, Deadly Calm, never take it. Just capiche. Avatar is a really great one if you want to have a burst window. In for the Kill is probably better overall if you combine it with Angel Management, and In for the Kill, those two are really great together. So every time you use Warbreaker, or if it's called Colossal Smash, it gives you 10% haste. That means more haste, more damage, more rage, more cooldowns. So overall, In for the Kill on the long term is really great. I would only take Avatar if you really want that big burst window. So if you want to have a big burst window on trash mobs in a dungeon, take Wallbreaker, take Avatar, take War Machine, and you have a really great burst. Maybe also Favor of Battle. With all these you have a really great AoE burst in dungeons. But if you want to deal most damage on a boss, single target, I would say Skull Splitter, Massacre, Cold in for the kill. Well, this one here doesn't really matter, it's only for AoE. But this will be what I would take on a single target boss fight and double time. So Angel Management is the best one, I would say, overall. Dreadnought is just giving you a more smooth rotation, so you have 2 times overpower, so you can kind of use them all the time, filling out the empty gap where you don't have anything to do. But Angel Management is overall the best one because it remains, well, instead of having 45 seconds on Colossal Smash, if you play correctly, you will have a half-minute cooldown, that means 15 seconds away. And your Blade Storm will go from 1.5 minutes to 1 minute. So that means you can use Colossal Smash and Blade Storm much more often and equal to more damage. So Ravager is not, never take it, just ignore it. So this build I have at the moment is the best one for single target. If you really want to have a great burst AoE spec, it was these. But again, single target, that is most of the game, you could say, on a boss fight, I would take the talents like this. So that was the talents. Woohoo! Okay, and now it's the rotation. So what I like to do is first is charge, because you get 20 rage from charge, and you get to 25 from the first attack you deal after charging. That means you will actually start on 45. So after charging the target, use Colossal Smash as your first ability, and Colossal Smash will give a debuff on the target that deals, so you deal 30% more damage to him for 10 seconds. So that means in that 10 seconds, it's very important that you deal the best damage you can do. So you be the best at the best in those 10 seconds. So again, charge, Colossal Smash, and then Mortal Strike. The reason for why you use Mortal Strike is of course because it's like your main ability for dealing damage, and it's also applying a damage over time. So you don't want, so a lot of people will probably say to me, but why don't you wait with, because every time you use overpower, you increase the damage of Mortal Strike by 20%. So a lot of people will probably say, why are you not waiting for 2 stacks of overpower so you actually deal more damage with Mortal Strike? Because you need to use Mortal Strike all the time, so you have the debuff on. You can see the debuff will exactly go off when Mortal Strike is ready again. So if I don't use Mortal Strike all the time, the debuff will go off. So that means charge, Colossal Smash, Mortal Strike, and now overpower to increase the damage of my next Mortal Strike, and then Mortal Strike again. And you want to use Mortal Strike all the time because it's the damage over time ability. So Mortal Strike all the time, just all the time. I cannot say it much, but it's just all the time. So again, charge, Colossal Smash, Mortal Strike, overpower, and when these 3 abilities are not ready, Colossal Smash or overpower, when these 3 are not ready, you want to use Slam as your filler. So again, Colossal Smash, Mortal Strike, overpower, these 3 abilities, just use them all the time, all the time, all the time. And then when you don't have anything to do, use Slam. And again, overpower, Mortal Strike. And now if you're talented Skull Splitter, you will only use Skull Splitter if you get under 60 rage like now, because it helps you generating more rage, and you want to use Skull Splitter, but only when you actually get under 60 rage. So again, Colossal Smash, Mortal Strike, overpower, Slam with nothing else to do. So it's a pretty simple rotation. You actually just charge, Colossal Smash, Mortal Strike, overpower, Slam with nothing else to do. I just use Skull Splitter, sorry. But I really hope you understand what I'm trying to tell. So Colossal Smash first, Mortal Strike, overpower. Just these 3 spells, use them every time you can. Use Slam with nothing else to do, and use Skull Splitter when you get under 60 rage. So at the moment you get under 60 rage, use Skull Splitter, and then just Slam. So you can say Slam and Skull Splitter is going to be the spells you're going to use when Colossal Smash, Mortal Strike and overpower is on cooldown. It's pretty simple. I mean, Very simple. So, what are you going to do then if you meet enemies that is more than one? Then you actually just use, I would say, the same rotation, but you replace Slam with Whirlwind. So you can see now I'm just dealing damage to more targets, but also you're using the spell called Sweeping Strike. That is, well, for 12 seconds your single target damaging ability hit one additional target in for 8 yards for 75 of the damage. That means if I use Sweeping Strike and my normal rotation, you can see here, it's actually getting damage also. So it's really great spell. But while you actually have Sweeping Strike on, you want to use Slam instead, because Slam deals more damage than Whirlwind, just to make it more complicated. So, and when not Sweeping Strike is active and you don't have it when it's not, when it's a cooldown, you want to use Whirlwind. But when you have Sweeping Strike active, you want to use Slam. So again, you just follow your normal rotation, but you will just use Sweeping Strike, and when Sweeping Strike is not on, you will use Whirlwind for your filler spell. But else you actually just do the same combination. And when there's a lot of trash mob and you want to do, let's say, the big damage, then you use Blade Storm. That's your best cooldown, dealing most damage. It deals a lot of crazy damage, and it applies deep wounds that damage over time on all the targets. Also on boss fights you will also like to use Blade Storm, because it deals 25,000 damage. That's like it's like oh damn, I'm bad to math. It's 5 mortal strikes. So Blade Storm deals the same damage as 5 mortal strikes on 5 seconds, and it also applies the bleeding to the target. So Blade Storm is a perfect spell and deals so much damage. So again, you simply want to use your normal rotation also when you have additional monsters, but you replace Whirlwind, Slam with Whirlwind if you don't have Sweeping Strike active, and so on. And of course, if there's like 7 monsters, you just spam Whirlwind, because then it deals more damage when you just spam Whirlwind. But if you have 2 to 4 targets, I would go with your normal rotation, but if it's more than 4 targets, well then you can just spam Whirlwind. And now, so you're thinking, am I really done now? No. But it's because you have also your Execute. And your Execute is the most important spell as an arms warrior. Because of this talent here, it's making you even more strong. Massacre. That means when the boss gets down to, can I even get these monsters down? No, I cannot even get them down, so I can test Execute. Can I get you down? No, okay, but you know what I mean. When you get him down to 35% with your spell here, Massacre, then you actually replace Slam with Execute. So if you could have a macro saying if target under 35%, use Execute, that would be so perfect. But we cannot, because, well, Blizzard don't want us to face roll everything. So when the target actually gets under 35% damage, you want to use Execute as your filler. So you still use your normal rotation, you still use Mortal Strike, you still use Overpower, you still use Colossal Smash, but instead of you using Slam as your filler, you're using Execute as much as you can. Just spam it all the time you can, and when you don't have any rage, use Skull Splitter to get up rage again, and you spam Execute, and back to your normal rotation. So that's pretty simple. You just, when the boss gets under 35%, you just take your Slam, throw it away, put your Execute over to your spell key bindings, and use that one. I know you don't have to move around your spells, you can just simply make a key bindings, but just so you get the understanding on how it actually works. So that should be the rotation. Pretty simple. Yeah, it's okay simple, I would say, but you still have to think about some quiet things. So yeah, that was the guide for Arms Warrior. Keep in mind that Arms Warrior is pretty much it's a better warrior spec, I would say, in low eye level, also because it only requires you to find one good weapon. But in low eye level, when you don't have so much haste, Arms is a perfect spec. But when you see people get more haste and better gear, Fury is actually overtaking from what I can read on the internet. But again, But personally, I better like Fury. I think it's a more funny spec, but Arms is also a great spec. So, but then as also, if you like to PvP, Arms is probably the best one for you. But again, it's up to you. We both have Arms Warriors and Fury Warriors on the leaderboards, so I will not give any opinion on that. So thanks you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Arms guide. So yeah, cheers and have a nice day.